Welcome to the Counter Narrative Podcast, a show designed to change the way we talk and think about education. By sharing stories of successes and triumphs, we aim to challenge the dominant narrative that often negatively portrays our disenfranchised populations. I'm your host, Charles Williams, an educator for 15 years, a current school principal in Chicago, and an educational consultant. Let's get started. This episode is a Pause to Ponder segment. These bi-weekly sessions will allow me to share with you my personal thoughts and reflections on a wide spectrum of topics as they relate to education. It is my hope that you will be able to take something from these segments and apply it in a meaningful way as you continue to do amazing work. Remember, while we all have different roles, we all have a single job: educating our students. I have been known to read too much into things, to uncover hidden connections that are nothing more than happenstance, to manifest grand stories from the simplest of situations. Whether it's a penchant from listening to my grandfather regale us with stories of his journeys and adventures, or from being consistently bombarded with alien conspiracies from Giorgio while watching the History Channel, I have grown to enjoy pondering the deeper meanings that may, or may not, exist within life's basic moments. Regardless, I hope that you'll entertain my creative notions as I share with you another pause to ponder moment. This time of year has always been a favorite. While I confess that I much rather the hot days of summer, there is a special allure to the changing colors of fall. In fact, my wife and I enjoy taking long drives through the back roads and reveling in the vibrant colors and marveling in the majesty of nature. To witness these landscapes shift from lush green canopies to a mural of reds, yellows, and oranges reminds us that nothing in this world is constant. And it is with this image in mind that I wanted to share with you a simple phrase that I recently discovered. You have the power to create change. Simple words that contain a powerful truth. So often we discuss how we cannot control what happens to us, but that we can control how we respond. And while it is absolutely true that we can control how we respond to situations, why become comfortable in being reactive? Why stop at positioning ourselves to be prepared for when situations happen? What if, instead, we channeled that energy into creating the change that we want to see? I would be remiss not to talk about the election that just passed. In fact, the final votes are still being tallied. I promise not to launch into a political conversation or stand atop my soapbox about parliamentary procedures. Instead, I will say this. I hope that you voted. Yes, I understand that the debates around the Electoral College and that there are questions of how much a single vote actually matters. But the truth is this. You have a voice. A voice that, for so many of us, was not simply granted, but earned through literal blood, sweat, and tears. A voice that was won, revoked, and then won again. A voice that, to this day, is still suppressed in so many ways. Honor those that created this change, and be sure to use your voice to vote. So let's shift our focus to something a little closer to home. Now, I know that I have released several episodes talking about the need for radical transformation in education. I have shared my belief that we need to have monumental shifts at the very foundations of our policies and procedures. And while I still believe that the changes need to take place, I acknowledge that this is the same battle that has been fought for generations. a battle that has resulted in simultaneous racial and racist progress. It is interesting that, despite the relentless advocacy of equity champions and the continuous adoption of reform policies, we are still fighting the same battles. I wholeheartedly believe that we will be victorious in achieving true equity. But in order for this to happen, we must not direct all of our efforts into addressing the system as a whole, but we must also begin making changes in the smaller arenas, our schools. Therefore, I implore you to consider the power that you have in your classroom. As educators, we take to our various platforms to champion the need for change. But how are we mirroring that exact change in our own schools and classrooms? If we believe that our antiquated grading system reinforces an academic exchange system, one in which compliance and completion can be traded for high marks, how are we changing it? If we believe that the traditional canon of literature used in ELA classes does not reflect our students' identities, how are we changing it? If we believe that the achievement gap is actually a reflection of an opportunity gap, how are we changing it? Yes, all of these changes need to happen on a much larger scale, but it does not mean that you cannot begin implementing these shifts in your own classroom. Why can't you begin focusing on mastery learning? Why can't you expose your students to various texts such as Zora and Me by T.R. Simon, Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan, or even Redwoods by Jason Chin? Why can't you begin exposing your students to the world beyond their neighborhoods through virtual field trips and local or even regional competitions? The truth is, you can, because you have the power to create change. As I begin to close, I would like for you to do me a favor and recite this affirmation. You can scream it aloud or simply whisper it into being. The volume of your voice doesn't matter so much as the belief within you. Are you ready? If it is meant to be, it is up to me. You got it? All right, again. If it is meant to be, it is up to me. Good. But once more, with all the conviction that you can muster. If it is meant to be, it is up to me. Realizing that you have this power can both be powering and frightening. Knowing that you can today, right now, begin to lay the groundwork for significant changes, and not just your students' lives, but your own, can be exhilarating. Just beware the seeds of doubt, of not knowing where to begin, of not being experienced enough, of not having the resources, for they will grow quickly and tangle you up with their weeds. Commit yourself to change. Surround yourself with other change agents and push back against those systems that for so long have dictated how you will operate. Remember, you have the power to create change. Until next time. I want to thank you for listening to the Counter Narrative Podcast. If you like what you're hearing, please be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can also follow the show on Twitter at the CN Podcast and the host at _CW Consulting. Take care.